Now taking the field, your starting lineup for the Washed Up Podcast. Batting first, he's got hot takes and harder swings. Nate Mueller. In the 2 spot, breaking down plays and calling out the refs, Alex Schneider. And batting third, bringing the heat with no filter, Derek Dunn. This is the Washed Up Podcast. Baseball, football, and more, where the game never ends and the takes keep coming. Let's get into it.
Welcome back to the Wash Up Podcast. I am your host, Nate Mueller. I have my co-hosts here as well, Schneids and Derek. On episode 5 tonight, we're going to update you with sports news and get into the big man edition of the NFL position preview. Make sure to stay tuned to the end of the show to catch our trivia section, and don't forget to vote in our poll on Spotify to determine who's the most washed up host. Which, by the way, I have a bone to pick with you listeners. If you listen to our content, be sure to like, follow, and comment on our socials. We would greatly appreciate it. We just recently hit 150 plays on Spotify, and we are really thrilled about that. If you're a TikToker, like the rest of us, check us out there at the Washed Up Podcast. And remember, this isn't SportsCenter. This is the washed up version. All right, guys. It is August 13th. We are on episode 5 here, hoping to get well above our 150 play mark. I'm going to start us off here with some MLB news. We had Ichiro Suzuki's number retirement in Seattle. They retired the number 51. It was pretty cool. They had Randy Johnson and him both there. They both wore 51 in Seattle. Josh Hamilton got inducted in the Rangers Hall of Fame. Cal Riley hit his 45th home run. Judge has been struggling since he's returned from the IL, along with the Yankees have been struggling. This past week, Verlander got his 3,500th K. Garrett Cole is progressing. He tossed from flat ground, about 20 feet, I think they said. Pete Alonso set Mets franchise record with 253rd home run. He broke Darryl Strawberry's record with the Mets. Everybody seems to be making a big deal about this. We'll see if Schneids has a different opinion, but I don't think this is that big of a deal. Brewers, they secured their 12th straight win today, and the Angels turned a triple play on a Shohei Ohtani line drive, which is kind of ironic because that's Shohei's old team, of course. Schneids, do you have anything to add to our MLB news?
Yeah, I'll touch on the Alonso setting the Mets franchise record. I want to say that probably not a big deal to all baseball fans, but for Pete Alonso, a guy that didn't sign or took a while to sign back with the Mets, and him being the guy that now holds that. I mean, you hold the franchise record for any team, especially one that's got a storied franchise like the Mets. I mean, 253, home runs isn't anything to kind of shake your head at, So, I mean, it's a big deal for Alonso. It's a big deal for Mets, maybe even Mets fans. Altogether as baseball, though, probably not a huge deal. I think the bigger part of that is he's, 47 home runs away from 300, which that is a fairly large mark, especially for a guy like Pete Alonso. I mean, congrats to him. I don't think it's, like I said, I don't think it's a big deal around MLB and MLB fans. I think it's just more of a big deal to Alonso himself, the being able to put the team on his back like he's done for almost his entire tenure there. And, I mean, like I said, if you hold a franchise record in any sport for anything, I mean, obviously, unless it's a record in something that's bad, then, that's a job well done, in my opinion.
I just, maybe it's because I'm a fan of the Braves and, you're a fan of the Cardinals and, the Cubs are near us, kind of. Those records seem small compared to, mine is Hank Aaron, yours is Pujols, and then, the Cubs, they have Sosa. So, I don't know. I guess that's why it seems small to me as far as, a record, but I can see what you're saying there. What do you think about Josh Hamilton and the Rangers Hall of Fame?
It's kind of a touchy subject. Obviously, if you've watched baseball, Josh Hamilton had one of the makings of, he could have been a top guy in the history of the league. Smooth lefty swing with a lot of power, played pretty good defense. My opinion of it is it's good for him. I know that he's been plagued due to his own doing, but with some issues off the field that has been trouble for him. Ultimately, I believe that led to his demise career-wise in the MLB. I enjoyed watching him play. Obviously, I didn't agree with the off-field stuff, but nonetheless, really good for him. Probably, deserving of the Rangers Hall of Fame, in my opinion. You think of some guys that might be on that Mount Rushmore conversation for them. He's a name on that list. May not be on the Mount Rushmore, but he's definitely on the short list to be on it, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree. I really liked watching him play. I'll never forget the home run derby at Yankee Stadium. It was some pretty crazy shots he was hitting in that home run derby. It is sad that, he dealt with addiction and it was so bad that it shortened his career because, like you said, I think he really could have been one of the all-time greats had he had a full career. And I think he might be on the back end of some of his addiction issues now. So I thought it was really cool to see him get an honor like that to be in the Rangers Hall of Fame. I'm going to move on to the Braves. Over the last week, Hurston Waldrep, who they called up and got his first Major League win when they were playing at Bristol, Tennessee, he also got another win. He looks pretty good. I think he could be in the rotation to stay moving forward. Hopefully he's the fourth or fifth guy next year. Baldwin is Drake Baldwin, catcher for the Braves, for those who don't know. He is really strengthening his case for Rookie of the Year. He's top 3 in all offensive numbers, and he plays pretty good defense. He's thrown out quite a few runners. But man, he can really hit. He comes up clutch. He uses the ball. He hits the ball to all fields. Michael Harris made a mechanics change on his swing, and he's been on fire for probably about the last 3 weeks, month or so. Along with that, Ozuna is back to hitting well as well. I'm kind of glad at this point they didn't trade him. I could see them maybe extending him and getting him as the DH next year. We'll see how that plays out. The one bright spot from this last week was that they won 4 of 5 from the Marlins right after they got swept in a 3-game series against the Brewers, who I mentioned had a 12-game winning streak. Acuna, who is rehabbing his calf, he was sprinting and doing stop-and-start running in the outfield prior to Sunday's game over the Braves won over the Marlins. They lost 13-5 to the Mets yesterday, and they're currently playing the Mets in a rain-delayed game in New York. They had started to come back in the game. It was 6-4 last I looked. They are 51-68 and 17.5 games behind in the NL East and 13 games behind in the wild card. So they kind of made up some ground in the wild card, but I still think it's a lost season. They're playing 500 ball in their last 10 games. They're 5-5.
And that brings us to some Cardinal news. If you're if you've been a Cardinal fan for as long as I have, roughly, almost my entire life, then you would know that Molina was back in the bullpen. He was back in the dugout for a couple of games. This is my cry for help. Make him the manager. I know me and Nate talked about it a little bit the other day, and it was kind of mentioned something about how he needs to be the bench coach first, just to kind of get his feet wet in it, which is what most people do. You start off as the bench coach, and then you move your way to manager. I think if the Cardinals do that, though, it kind of opens him up to other teams. And I think the knowledge, it has nothing, yes, it has something to do with him being a Cardinals legend, and really just a legend in the game itself. But the knowledge that he has, the way that he looks at the game is different than a lot of people. I've never watched a player that can dissect certain things of the game, as well as he does, minus maybe like Tim Duncan, Tony La Russa back in the day. They have a different, their mind is on a different scale. For you NFL guys, I kind of look at it as like a Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, the way that they view the game and just the second nature things that they do. And I think that can be a huge help to a lot of these young players since they're doing this whole, in air quotes, youth movement. Segueing into that, Nolan Gorman been playing a lot of third base since Nolan Arenado has been out. Having some issues defensively a little bit. Probably not anything to be concerned about, just kind of knocking the dust off. Really has kind of been all around the diamond, learning new positions and DHing a lot. So, in my opinion, I really wish that they would have traded Nolan Arenado. I know I've said that at length. Obviously, it didn't happen, and it's nothing against Nolan Arenado. I love him as a player. I love that he's a Cardinal. With the issues that I've stated before, I think the Cardinals have done him dirty, but if Nolan Gorman is going to be that guy for the future, really needs to focus and lock that down to fill that hole moving forward. Other news for them, they actually have a schedule, possibly after this last 3 games against the Rockies, but have a schedule that could put them back in the playoff hunt, surprisingly enough. They do play the Yankees next, the 15th through the 17th of August. Then they go 18th through the 20th versus the Marlins, and then the 21st and the 22nd versus the Rays. This coming after they took 2 or 3 from the Cubs, which was huge, on August 8th through the 10th. But then followed that up with a 1-2 record versus the Rockies. The Rockies, man, have had their number. I don't know why. I don't know what the deal is. Michaelis was actually pitching really well the other night. I was watching the game, and just a couple mistakes pitching, and the Rockies capitalized on it. Also, in my opinion, real bonehead drag bunt idea for Victor Scott when you have runners on second and third and 1 out, I think it was. But we'll see what happens. The Yankees are a very dangerous team. Marlins, they're in that retool. They were they were dealers at the deadline, and then the Rays. The Rays, you never know what you're going to get with Rays. Like they're just kind of a mixed bag of nuts. In other news, Wilson Contreras is day-to-day with a foot contusion by a hit by pitch on Tuesday. So Burleson actually played some first base in his absence, which Burleson, if you guys don't know, I do have him on my fantasy team, so I kind of looked him up today. Batting .280 on the season, only struck out, I think it said like 58 times. Really putting together a really good season for him. Has made himself definitely an everyday player. I don't have how many games they're out of the wild card right now, but the Cardinals currently are sitting at 61-61, so 500, and they're 16 back in the National League Central. Brewers in first, Cubs in second, Reds in third. They have a long way to go. They really need, if they're going to make a push for a playoff spot, they really need to kind of get it in gear. So, I don't have really high hopes. I just want the young guys to finish strong and put together some stuff to have some answers going into next season. But that's it for my Cardinals news.
All right. And interestingly enough, about the time I finished with my Braves news, Michael Harris hit a grand slam to put the Braves up 9-6 tonight. So stays hot. Derek, would you like to run us through some NFL stuff?
Yeah, so we can get started on some NFL news. We're going to run through some stuff real quick because we want to get to some games and some recaps from the first week of the preseason. So I'll start off with extensions. Rashawn Slater, Chargers offensive lineman, signed a 4-year, $113 million deal. It's unfortunate that we're going to talk about his name next in the injury report, but he did ink a new deal with the Chargers. And James Cook, who we talked about last week, he signed a 4-year, $48 million deal with the Buffalo Bills to continue being their guy at the running back position. I'd love to see that Buffalo got this done quickly. I know Cook mentioned wanting $15 million a year, but it looks like he's going to average about 12, and obviously that was good enough for him. So good on Buffalo for getting this done quickly, taking care of their guy. I think James Cook is a huge piece of that offense, and it's good to see teams take care of their players. So we'll jump into some injuries now. I just mentioned his name, but Rashawn Slater is out for the season with a patellar tendon tear. That's got to be one of the more gruesome injuries that you can suffer as a player. Alexander Madison, former Vikings running.
This was the day or two after he signed this extension.
Yeah, I thought it was like
so. It's like, oh yes, yeah. We're like, oh yeah, we signed him to an extension. We locked up our left tackle, who's an all-pro caliber player, and then boom.
Yeah.
Then I think it was the next day.
I'm pretty sure it was literally the next day, which is rough because the dude's a beast, and you hate to see that. I don't know what the recovery time is on something like that, but like I said, that has to be one of the more gruesome injuries you can suffer. Alexander Madison, former Vikings running back, now plays for the Dolphins. He is out for the season. He sustained a neck injury in the preseason game. So never good when you see neck injuries. That stuff can be scary. Apparently he's had some issues with it in the past, but he is out for the season now too. Landon Dickerson, Eagles right guard, he is having meniscus surgery. He's considered week to week. Meniscus is menisci? Meniscus injuries are never good. Obviously JJ McCarthy had one last year, and he was out the whole year. Obviously this one's probably not as severe, but he is listed with a meniscus injury, so he will be week to week. Next one, Rondale Moore, Vikings wide receiver that we just picked up in the offseason. In his first punt return of the season, injured his left knee, and now he is out for the year. Unfortunate, because I was really looking forward to seeing how they could incorporate him into the offense. I feel like he's not really been given a chance to really jumpstart his career. And he just came off an injury from last year that took him out all year. So it looks like he's going back on the injured list. So, and then the last one we want to talk about, Anthony Richardson was injured in the preseason game against the Ravens. He dislocated his right pinky. I don't know if anybody saw the picture, but it was kind of gnarly. And then once he went out, Daniel Jones came in. So I think Jones got a little bit more time than what he was expecting, but hopefully Anthony Richardson's not out too long, so they can kind of keep that QB battle going in Indianapolis. So, and then some general news we want to talk on. There's not a whole lot to go over, just because we're going to go over some stuff with games and stuff like that. 49ers wide receiver Brandon Ayuk, who was out last year with a knee injury. It has come out that he is targeting a week 6 return, so I'm sure San Francisco will be glad to have him back and be added to that wide receiver room that we kind of talked about. It's kind of lacking right now. So, and the other big piece of news is John Gruden won a case against the NFL arbitration through the Supreme Court 5-2, which makes him eligible to have a public trial instead of going through the NFL's arbitration process. Might not seem like a whole lot, but I've kind of been doing some research on it. This could potentially get messy for the NFL. If you don't know, this is going back to some of the emails that he was... it was leaked that he was sending some emails to former Washington Commanders owner Dan Snyder, and he was saying some very inappropriate things in those emails, and he said kind of from the start that he felt like it was kind of a hit piece from the NFL trying to get him to get out of his contract that he had just signed with the Raiders. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with this one. now that it's allowed to go to a public trial, which is something the NFL has really never had before. They've always had their own little arbitration process, and this is like the first time that I can remember in a long time that it possibly might go to a public trial. So could be interesting to see what's found in that. So
yeah, isn't it it's in regards to them just making the emails public? Like he feels like they violated his privacy?
So without getting too deep into it, and obviously we don't know the facts, we don't know what actually happened, but he feels, and some of the other even owners in the league feel like he was targeted by the NFL, that there was like 650,000 emails that they went through, and his were the only ones that got leaked from, you're talking executive players, general managers, coaches, and the only ones that got leaked were basically John Gruden. So he said from the very beginning that he thinks the NFL was just coming after him since, you know, his few emails out of 650,000 were the only ones that got leaked. So the big deal with that is if it goes to a public trial and his attorneys obviously are allowed to get a hold of those emails, it could expose a lot of other potential wrongdoing by all these NFL executives. Could. Obviously, we don't know. It's got to go through trial, go through all that process. But that's what I'm saying. It could get a little messy from the NFL side if they don't, get it resolved before then.
So do you think that if he goes...
They will settle.
Well, Gruden has said that he doesn't want money. Like, he's coming for blood, basically. He said no amount of money is going to make him basically settle this case. So, I don't know. Man's made a lot of money in his life. That contract he signed with the Raiders was 10 years, $100 million. And for a head coach, that's a pretty big contract. So, he says he does not want to settle. He wants to air out all the baggage, I guess. So...
this could be a mess.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be a huge mess. But this could be something like, we, as fans, we've talked about it numerous times where, like, you look at some things and things look a little, I'm not trying to say the NFL is rigged, but there are moments in time where you're kind of like, I don't know about that. So him doing that, if he was in the wrong, as long as he admits that he's in the wrong, but he's still trying to set the thing straight. The crazy part when this stuff happens, though, if you look around sports, and I can give you another case, right? When this happens, a lot of people are like, man, like, I don't understand. Like, they never get jobs again in the professional aspect here in the U.S. You can look at a case like Trevor Bauer, like, totally acquitted of all his charges, was found out that the woman that was making these accusations was just after some money, that they were false allegations. And yet no team has signed him, and you're talking about a former Cy Young Award winner that wants to play for league minimum. So I don't think that this is going to get John Gruden a job again in the NFL for what has happened in the past. But if he wants to air out some dirty laundry, I think everybody is okay with being, a little curious and, wanting to know the ins and outs of some things. So I guess we're going to see if we're going to topple the mighty government of the NFL.
Well, here's the other thing, too, is there have been a lot of people that have come out and have been advocating. I should say a lot. There have been some pretty big names advocating for Gruden to get a second chance. I want to make this perfectly clear. What he said in those emails, we do not agree with. We don't back that at all. I'm just saying there are people that believe he should get a second chance, and I think that this could also air out a lot of baggage against the NFL, because I don't know if you guys knew this or even the listeners know this, but typically the process stays within NFL headquarters, like it stays private, and their normal arbitration process, it's all within the NFL. The reason that he lost this in the Nevada Supreme Court is because they basically said, well, Roger Goodell would be making a decision where Roger Goodell is involved in it. It doesn't make any sense. That's not fair. He should be able to have a right to a public trial. It doesn't make any sense for Goodell to rule on something that he's a part of. So that's essentially why he lost in the Supreme Court. Now, obviously, the NFL has the right to appeal that decision. When you lose 5-2, it's probably not going to make a difference if you appeal it, but I guess we'll wait and see if they do. They're probably going to do whatever they can to make sure that this gets cleaned up and does not go to a public trial. but we will have to just wait and see. So, moving on to the games. So, week 1 of the preseason is complete. We have some notable games here that we want to talk. Well, not even talk about. Just hit some brief points in some of these games. So we'll go ahead and get started. The Baltimore Ravens defeated almost said the Baltimore Colts. Holy smokes! Baltimore Ravens.
They used to be.
I know. Baltimore Ravens beat the Indianapolis Colts 24-16. The notable player we want to talk about is Warren. He looked really good from what I've seen in his first NFL action. Caught some passes. Apparently his blocking, he was just blocking dudes downfield all day long. They're really liking what he's seen from him in his first NFL action. And then obviously, like we talked about, Anthony Richardson's injury kind of threw off the quarterback battle that they had. I think Daniel Jones got some additional time that he wasn't really expecting. Didn't play terrible. Didn't play great. But I'm really interested to see how that is going to develop in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I think the quarterback battle will be interesting to see because, as we know, Jones has had flashes where he was really good, and he's had times where he was atrocious, and you could say the same for Richardson. Richardson adds a different aspect to their game where he can run a little bit. Jones, actually, he can run too, so they're both similar quarterbacks. I think, when we went through our quarterback position preview, we talked about, Schneid's especially talked about Richardson's lack of will to play, I guess you would call it. So I am interested to see mostly from the Colts how that quarterback battle plays out.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting one to keep an eye on. I think Daniel Jones has a real shot, especially now that Anthony Richardson's out with an injury. So, yeah,
I agree. Next game on our list here is the Eagles and Bengals. The Eagles beat the Bengals 34-27. No notable players there. Just two pretty good teams going at it in the preseason.
Yeah, that brings us to our next one. One of the 2 ties that there were in the first week's games. You had the Raiders tied with the Seahawks. The big news coming out of this one, obviously Geno went back to Seattle. That's the team he played a few years for before he was traded to the Raiders. And there was a picture that came out of him turning around, flipping off the crowd as he was standing at the entrance of the tunnel. Not gonna lie, I don't like him flipping off the old fans. But it was kind of a good picture. I'm not even gonna lie. So obviously we don't know what sparked that. But we know how fans can get in those moments. Seattle's got some really, really passionate fans. So you never know if something was said or what. But it definitely was a photogenic moment, to say the least.
Yeah, I think it's a bad look for Geno, if I'm being honest with you, man. Like, you've not really had, over the course of your career, like for the length of your career, where you can say that you were necessarily good for the most part of it. You had some pretty good years in Seattle. They let you come in, let you be yourself, let you do your thing, and you had success with it, and now you go back to them. Like, this is a scene for me that this is a player having a lapse in judgment of understanding that, yes, there's some loyalty. Yes, you're playing a game. It's supposed to be for fun, but it's just one of those things where, like, you have to understand that this is also a business. So when you do things like this, it makes it seem like, without any background information, it makes it seem like that you're pissed at the fans and you're pissed at the organization for getting rid of you. And when it comes down to it, like, they made a business decision, they sent you on your way. You're back with your old head coach or old head coach. To me, it's a very bad look. I don't approve of it. I think it's a really dumb thing that Geno did there. Granted, if context comes out and there's some other things, then I'm okay with walking those words back. But if it is what it looked like off face value, a horrible move by Geno, in my opinion. Really bad lapse in judgment.
I think it would be very crazy and maybe uncharacteristic for him to just flip off Seattle fans just to do it. I'm sure that something was said, and we've seen over the years since I've been watching sports even, fans do some things that are over the line, you know. I mean, we've seen with Ketel Marte in Major League Baseball, a fan making a comment about his dead mother. We've seen, the Malice in the Palace in the NBA where fans are coming, throwing stuff on the court, yelling things. Players are going up into the stands. I'm not condoning him giving the middle finger to the fans. It's obviously a bad look. I think it just brings into question, though, where the line is that players, I don't know if stand up for themselves, but have a way to clap back at the fan that's, saying something or acting in an egregious way.
I mean, if the fan said something that went at him, his character, his family, or whatever, then I will walk back my comments. Then, to me, you flipping that fan off for doing that is way better than you jumping in the stands and, pardon my French here, but beating their ass because they said something out of line. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. There are some fans out there that when they go to a game need to grow up and understand that you're watching grown men play a sport like this. You're not, if this game, preseason game is going to affect your life in any major way, you probably should do some looking in the mirror before you attack the former starting quarterback of your team. Like, you're an adult, man. Like, grow up. Whatever the issue is you have with him is crazy to me that you would do something like that at the game. It just sucks. I wish we knew what was said or if anything was said to make him do that. I hope that's what it is in Geno's case. I know it sounds really horrible because I don't obviously want anybody to yell anything at a player that would make them come to that resolution. I hope it wasn't Geno just flipping off Seahawks fans, because if it is, that is a horrific look for you as a player in this league.
Yeah, I mean, and we don't really know obviously what happened, but I know that Geno was super thankful. Obviously, Seattle kind of resurrected his career. So when he left, I knew he was extremely thankful for that organization. Obviously, the staff that brought him in were no longer there, and he got shipped out after the first year of the new staff. So I'm sure that probably stung a little bit, but he was super thankful to be there for the most part. So yeah, I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt and say that something was said, because I know how fans can get at sporting events nowadays, which is completely uncalled for. But I'm gonna give him the benefit of the doubt on that.
I just want to set the record straight about what we're saying about fans. I will definitely sit in my seat and talk shit about a player or somebody that's sucking or something like that. This is comments where the player can hear you. You're being loud enough. You're speaking directly to the player to berate him or her. And I don't think there's a place for that in sports. Cheering your team or saying, oh, come on, or, shit like that is one thing. But when you go at a player or you say something about a player's family or something like that, that is way over the line.
Okay, well, here's the thing, fellas. I just looked it up because I was curious. I didn't look it up before, which is probably bad on us. So I'll tell you what happened, and you tell me your final opinion on this matter. This is an article by CBS Sports. It says, as the Raiders were coming out of the tunnel, Smith noticed one fan holding up a sign that read, in quotes, biggest bust, Geno or Jamarcus Russell.
I think that's That's rough. I don't know if I think the middle finger is justified in that fact or not. I think he gave him some good years in Seattle. Like, I think the sign is incorrect, and I could see it pissing Geno off just because of how bad Jamarcus Russell was. That seems like an odd, like, sign to have. I that kind of throws me off there. I don't know what to think.
To be fair, like you mentioned, he did kind of keep Seattle relevant there for a while. And to put him on the same level as Jamarcus Russell on the same team that he now plays for, disrespectful in my opinion. I mean, this guy was your quarterback for, I think, 3 years. And really, if it wasn't for him, you guys probably wouldn't have been relevant. Do I think it warrants the middle finger? I don't know. I mean, probably not, but I can definitely see how that would sting. You know, you just gave 3 years to this franchise and their fans are coming out acting like that. The fan base that you thought had your back, and now they're comparing you to the biggest bust in NFL history. I can definitely see how that would warrant a swift reaction one way or the other.
Okay, so I think I'm going to follow the other side of this coin from you guys, because I think you guys are crazy even having the idea that it is okay for Geno Smith to flip somebody off for holding a sign, that this doesn't, like, attack his integrity, it doesn't attack his family, it is just a fan that has some banter because now he is on an opposing team. This is not in any way, shape, or form, in my opinion, okay, and it's a horrible look for Geno to flip somebody the bird. Yes, do I think it's a little outrageous? Probably so, but we've all said some things that are, like, in this realm of outrageous. We've all said some things that are in that aspect when we're watching a game. Geno, I'm going to be honest with you, buddy. Horrible look. Horrible, absolutely terrible. To me, you just showed how easy it is to get underneath your skin. You should have looked at that. You should have laughed. And then as a competitor, use that. Have that in the back of your mind to why you wake up every day and show up and grind to get on the football field. I'm going to say this is bad on Geno. This is going to be a very bad moment. I don't want you to be judged by this moment. I want you to be judged on what you're going to do after this, since this moment has occurred. A horrible decision, and that's my opinion on the matter.
I mean, that's fair, but I've given people the finger for less.
Right, but you're also not you're also not a public figure.
He's still a human being, though.
I completely understand what you're going at, but you're telling me that you've never said something like this, like you've never looked at, like, the Braves and somebody has a bad month and you're like, good God, like, they are so bad. They're just as bad as so-and-so, and then in a month they turn it around and everything's hunky-dory. There's
That's
no
fine.
way that
and
we're...
if they looked at me... If they looked at me and said, F you...
There's no way.
Okay, I mean...
Yeah, but you're not a public figure. You are not somebody that all ages of people are watching on television and possibly idolizing every week on a football field. That is not okay.
I see what you're saying. I still think it's fair to allow... Well, I don't know. The thing that throws the wrinkle into it is the age of people that are watching him, and, like, it's different from my perspective than it's going to be from when I have a child that's watching football, obviously. But at the same time, like I said, like, I've given people the bird for less. And I know I'm not a public figure, but I'm not, like, I don't know. It's a touchy situation, I think.
If they attack his integrity, if they attack him and his character, if they attack him and his family, if it's something that's very personal, I'm all on board. You do what you got to do. But what this warranted was like okay, if that's what you believe, watch me come Sunday. Watch me this season. Right? You want to snap back at him, have some words, whatever. As long as it doesn't get crazy personal, that's fine. But you now have a picture of Geno Smith flipping off a fan for holding a sign that just asks, the biggest bust? Him or Jamarcus Russell? That's completely, as if I was a Raiders GM or whatever, that is completely unacceptable for him to do on the football field. Completely unacceptable.
Here's the other thing to think about before I hand this over for Nate for our next game that we're going to go over. We also don't know what was said during the confrontation. We only see the sign and everybody thinks, oh, well, that's what he's reacting to. We don't know if there was something else that was said during that whole altercation or not. So, to be fair, unless he saw the sign and immediately flipped the bird, then obviously there was no altercation. But if they're jawing back and forth and then somebody says something, like, that's different. We don't know that context, but that's something to keep in mind as well.
All right. Let's move on to the Lions and Falcons. The Lions, one of two teams in the NFL who have actually played their second game in preseason week 1. They beat the Falcons 17-10. And that will take us to the next game on the schedule.
Yeah, so the next game, one that was probably watched by a lot of NFL fans, the Cleveland Browns defeated the Panthers 30-10. The big story coming out of this is Shedeur Sanders went 14 for 23, 138 yards, and 2 touchdowns with no interceptions. He looked good. Definitely looked like, and I know it's only one game, but everybody's saying that he looked like he should have been higher than where he was drafted. But for the most part, I thought it looked like a pretty solid outing for him.
Yeah, he kind of came out and said something about how he said that he didn't, I don't remember how he worded it, but basically didn't do exactly what he was supposed to do, which tells me that he was kind of looking for more from himself personally. I think with what he did, I'm going to be honest with you, should have opened up some eyes. I think he played some pretty clean football. There's some pretty tight passes into some very tight windows. And I think he looked really good. The thing of the matter is, though, is justifying playing him over, why can't I think of his name? The other quarterback they drafted higher out of Oregon. Gabriel. Yeah, it would be hard to justify, with the way fans and stuff look at teams playing Shedeur over him. And also obviously not having the experience like Pickett and Flacco have, but I think he looked really good. I have zero complaints. I think he did exactly what he was supposed to do. He went out and showed some guys that he can get things done and played pretty clean football.
I think he looked good, and like Schneid said, he fit the ball into some tight windows throughout the game from some of the clips I saw. He scrambled a couple times. He evaded some pressure. I do want to make sure that we understand, it was the first preseason game. Most of the players on the field are like third stringers. So, yes, I think he did what he could have done. I want to see him play against some starters and see what that looks like, because the level of a player from a third string to a starter is a pretty vast difference in skill level. So I am happy with what we saw. I think he deserves another shot for sure. He should get more playing time in the next one, maybe, if they want to run him, or unless they're just going to run Gabriel out there and see what he does. But I do want to see Sanders play against some actual NFL starters before we really put a stamp on it.
Here's some other interesting notes here, too. The second depth chart came out before week 2, and he's still listed as 4th on the depth chart. He is now dealing with an injury. They're saying an oblique injury, so they're not sure if he's going to play in week 2. And the other thing to note is Dylan Gabriel was injured this game, so he did not get any playing time this game at all. So sounds like this coming week, I should say, week 2, Dylan Gabriel might get some significant time if Sanders misses because of injury.
Do we agree, though, to the point? I sounds like we do, but we agree at least to the point where he played well enough to where we on the Washed Up podcast believe that he has played his way into getting some first team snaps against first team defenses.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at
I think it's a step ladder.
If you look at his stats from this game, I think it definitely warrants it. But again, it's one game, and I want to see what Gabriel does compared to what he's done, and I think he's better than 4th on the depth chart. I think he should be higher than that. But there is also some rumors, and I don't know if this is true. I don't know if there's any validity to this, but the Browns have been getting calls on trading Dillon Gabriel to some teams. I guess they're interested in trying to get him. I don't know if they'd go through with it, but they have talked about wanting to trade or release a couple of these guys, and they just picked up another one last week. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Someone might be getting traded at the end of the preseason. So
I would agree. I don't think necessarily he's earned first team reps. I think, playing against the second stringers would be the next step. See kind of how he does and go from there. On the point Derek made about the depth chart, I think if the Browns are smart, this may be what they're doing. I'm not sure. But I think a guy like Shedeur would use, 1, his draft position, and 2, the public posting of the depth chart and him being the 4th string as a motivation to play better. And maybe they are manifesting that on purpose. So that'll be an interesting thing to see. I don't believe he's their 4th best quarterback either after what we saw. But I guess we will see how it plays out.
But here's the thing. Here's my question I have for you. Do you really think that he needs... I know every athlete, throughout their careers and times playing that, you always search back for some extra fuel to the fire. But do you really think that Sanders needs something to, give him that extra push? I mean, think about who his dad is. Think about, the legacy that he's trying to leave behind on his own name. I don't know if you guys did, but I watched some of the YouTube stuff from when he was at Colorado, and yes, a lot of it shows him, cookie cutter from his dad, a lot of what's the self-loathing, you know what I mean? Really, it's all about him kind of deal. But the kid works, to me, if I'm the Browns head coach, when there is an available spot, obviously, like you guys said, I totally agree with. You want to see what Gabriel's going to do, kind of pin those two against each other. But if I'm the Browns coach, I'm like, look, man, you played really well. Let's give you some snaps versus first team. Let's see what happens there and kind of move on. I don't really necessarily think you need Joe Flacco playing against first team other than maybe just a warm-up for the season. Pick it kind of the same way. You want to see what your young guys are going to do because obviously there's a point where you're trying to make them the future of your franchise. The kid works. That's the part that people don't see because of all the, hey, look at me, look at what I'm doing, that kind of thing. But the kid does work. He puts in some insane work and is basically in training to be an NFL player, probably close to his whole life.
Yeah, I'll just say, I think at some point, though, the competition breeds greatness. So I don't want to say, oh, he's shown enough. I think he still needs to work his way up. He's still a rookie. There's 4 quarterbacks in the room. Let's see how they progress here through the preseason. I'd like to see him, like you said, Schneids, get him and Gabriel some snaps, see what they have. I don't really need to see Flacco and Pickett. We kind of know what we have there. But I would like to see them kind of pinned against each other. Maybe have one play one half, one play the other half. And the closer it gets to the season, you're going to have different personnel on the field. You're going to have more of the starters, second string guys, as we get closer. So I'd like to see more before I think I would say he should be their 1 on the depth chart. But I agree. I think I would put him above Pickett at this point, at least. I think Flacco should be the starter. As it sits, if it week 1 was today. I think it should be Flacco, Shadur, and then Gabriel.
Schneider, you want to talk about your Cowboys next?
Yeah, we'll throw in the Cowboys here. They played their first preseason game. I'm losing my mind here. They lost. I know that shocks a lot of people. They lost to the Rams 31-21. Didn't look like a whole lot of starters played, maybe for either team. Joe Milton III got the start at quarterback, 17 for 29, 143 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception against Stetson Bennett, former Georgia Bulldog. Played okay, nothing crazy. I think the Rams just all around are probably a better team, just all around. I did want to touch on one thing. Old Dak Prescott making his name well known in the media after the game was over, telling Matthew Stafford that he was going to see them in the NFC Championship game. I think it's awesome that after a loss, you try to pick up the team with some comedic relief. That's a great leader there. Got to make everybody laugh and go home with a smile, because there is absolutely no way you're going to see the Rams in the NFC Championship, even if they make it. The Dallas Cowboys will not be there.
That dude did not say that.
Yes,
100% did.
100%.
Oh my god.
100% right after the game was over. When they meet, middle of the field, and handshakes and high fives and whatnots. I believe he looked at Matthew Stafford, right? I
think it might have been Puka Nacua, because I know that there was at least one picture of them two talking. I don't know about Stafford, so if he said it twice, that is wild.
Either way, he did say it to a Rams player, saying that he will see them in the NFC Championship game. Like I said, great leaders. They always try to pick their team up, so picking everybody up when you leave the stadium there with a little chuckle, little laugh, I can take appreciation for that. But Dak, you have never made it out of the first round, and I don't see that changing literally anytime soon.
So I'm gonna bet right here, put me on the books, I'll bet $50 to either one of you that neither of those teams are in the NFC Championship game.
I'm not taking that, because I agree.
Derek, I know you like the Rams,
you really
buddy.
don't think the Rams?
No. No, I don't.
Wow.
I think Dak's an idiot for even thinking this.
Well, the Rams have
do you really think he was joking?
No, I don't at all. But
I was being very
Rams,
sarcastic when I said that.
I think the Rams have a way better shot at making the championship game just because of the quarterback than the Cowboys do.
I know you got some love for Stafford, but
do.
Brother, I don't think they're going to the NFC Championship. I don't think either one of them are.
Dude, you have to understand that front seven on the defensive side for the Rams, that might be one of the best in the league. Like, their pass rushers.
Dude. I'm not seeing it, man. You think they're better than the Commanders, the Lions, your Vikings, it'll depend on JJ McCarthy. The Bucks.
I think the only team
the Packers,
out of those teams that you mentioned that would have a legitimate chance of being better than the Rams are the Eagles.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
Wow.
I think.
Well, I guess we'll.
I think the Commanders have a shot just because I believe in Jaden Daniels, although he did not look great in the first game, which we'll get to later. But I don't know, man. Matt Stafford has done more with less. I'm just going to say that. I wouldn't bet against
fair,
the
but
guy.
isn't he 53?
No, that's Aaron Rodgers. Or no, wait, he might be up
he's
to
in
like
the 70s.
No, he's probably over 100 now. He was like 97 2 episodes ago, and he goes like 4 years every episode. So,
okay, I'm going to say this as a hot take, since we're doing hot takes. I think the Vikings.
I don't think mine was a hot take.
No,
dude.
it's not. But Derek thinks it is. Here's what I'm going to tell you, and Derek might love this comment here. out of all the teams in the NFC that we can talk about that are, in my opinion, better than the Rams, I'm going to say this. I think the Vikings have a better chance of getting to the NFC Championship game than the Rams.
I think you have lost your mind.
I don't.
You left it somewhere and you didn't put an AirTag on it because it's gone, brother. There ain't no way.
So, but Derek,
I'm looking
really
at six
like,
teams here that I think have a better shot of getting there than the Rams.
Derek, the Lions.
I think
No,
they're
not better?
going to take a step back without their two coordinators.
Okay, a step back, but Dan Campbell's still not going to take them deep in the playoffs.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying I don't think they make it to the championship game. You can take them deep
The
in the
Packers.
playoffs. I'm not a Jordan Love believer. I think he's still too young. I think he still makes too many mistakes. He's reckless. And I think he's got weapons around him. But
Still finished better than the Rams last season.
I'm not sure the Rams win their division.
Who are you putting over them?
I think for one, I think the Cardinals are going to be better than you're giving them credit for. I think the 49ers are going to be better than you're giving them credit for. Seattle's probably not going to. It depends a lot on what Sam Darnold does there. But that division's pretty even, and I don't think any team is like that much better than the rest.
I don't think you understand like how good that Rams defense is probably going to be this year.
That's fine. But
We'll see, I guess.
We're looking at, hold on, pause. Let me read off these teams real quick because this is crazy. You have in the NFC that I think has a way better shot than the Rams of getting to the NFC Championship game. Eagles, Commanders, Lions, Vikings, Packers, Bucks even. I had 6 teams right there, and the Bucks are probably equal with the Rams.
Look, I like Baker Mayfield, and this is getting way longer than what we wanted. I like Baker Mayfield. I am not putting that team over the Rams. I will stick to my guns and say that I think the Lions are going to take a step back this year because they lost both coordinators. I'm not saying that they're not going to be a good team. Listen, we're talking about the top 2 teams out of 16 teams. You can be the third best team and still be a good team. You're just not going to be in that championship game.
Yeah, and I don't think that they're even the third best team.
The Commanders, I think, could be in the conversation. I will give you that because, like I said, I like Jaden Daniels. I think he's going to be a stud. Terry McLaurin being out still kind of worries me because he didn't look great without him on the field. Packers, I'm not a huge believer in them, to be honest. And what was the other one you mentioned? The Eagles. Obviously, I said that the Eagles are better.
Let me read to you the NFC champion odds. So this is the best team in the NFC. This would be the winner of the NFC championship game. So they could still make it. They have Philly first, then Detroit, then Washington, then Green Bay, then San Fran, then the Rams, with the Vikings and Bucks right behind them.
What are those odds?
The Rams are at plus 1,000.
That's where you should put your $50. Not that
There's
we're promoting,
no way.
not that we're
There's no
promoting
way.
sports bets, but here we go. Like
there is absolutely no way. The Packers last season, which I know there's been some changes, but the Packers last season had a better record than the Rams, and the Bucks had the exact same record as the Rams.
Going off of records, yes. I can't deny that the records were the same. But you can't tell, well, you can, I guess, but the Bucks were not as good as the Rams. I'm sorry, they were not.
Okay, so hold on, pause. Here's my rebuttal.
That one out.
No, it doesn't, because when we look at what teams make the playoffs, do we go by record?
Yes, you go by record, but
Thank you.
Also doesn't matter once you get to the playoffs. As long as you get to the playoffs, records don't matter.
It doesn't matter, but they have the same record. The Packers were better. Vikings were better. Lions were better. Commanders better. Eagles better. And you don't even like the Packers or the Vikings. But there's still 3 teams out here that are better than the Rams.
Record-wise.
I feel very confident in saying.
Record-wise, yes. I just told you that. I can't argue with records. But what
okay,
I'm saying is
how many teams get in? I don't
7.
think the Rams. I don't even think the Rams. I agree with Nate. I don't. It wouldn't shock me at all if the Rams didn't win their division.
You're saying, do you think the Rams are going to make playoffs?
I No.
You're insane. You're insane.
I found another $50 bet.
I will take that bet in a heartbeat.
No, because
I think there'll be a fringe playoff team.
I think Sam Darnold, and I hope that Sam Darnold is like my underdog for the season. I hope Sam Darnold kind of shuts up some of the haters about him being with the quarterback whisperer head coach and goes to Seattle and has a winning team. And I think the Rams are going to be, as what people would call it, I think they're going to have a bust of a season.
Derek, do you think that Devontae Adams completely replaces the production of Kupp?
No, but I also don't think Kupp is the same player that he was 3 years ago.
That's fair.
The only way, in my opinion, that the Rams do not make the playoffs is if Matt Stafford gets hurt. I want Sam.
All right,
listen, I want Sam Darnold to do well. I appreciate what he did in Minnesota. I'm wishing him nothing but the best, but I don't think they win that division. I think the Rams win that division. 49ers get second, and then it's the Seahawks and the Cardinals battling out for third and fourth place.
Okay, pause. Do you think, this is my final question for this, because this has definitely run longer than expected. Do you think, Derek, that the Los Angeles Rams are going to make it to the NFC Championship game?
I think they got a legitimate shot, yes.
No. I need a yes or a no. Do you think they're going to make it?
I think that they have a legitimate shot, yes.
Jesus, I have a
All right,
there's a politician in the group.
Moving on. The Chargers have played 2 preseason games. They played the Lions in the Hall of Fame game and beat them 34-7. And then they played the Saints this past week and won 27-13. Notable players, Shook from the Saints was 15 for 22, 165 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 interception. He threw a pick 6 that kind of sealed the deal, and he also took 2 sacks. I think the style of football the Chargers are going to play this year, it's going to be a lot more scores like 27-13, 21-14. I think it's going to be a lower scoring game just because of the ball control offense Harbaugh runs. I'm not thrilled about a preseason win against the Saints. I think the Saints will probably be battling it out for the first pick in the NFL draft. It's preseason, but a W is a W. Derek, Vikings are up.
Yeah, so Minnesota Vikings defeated the Houston Texans 20-10. Obviously, everybody was excited. This is the first time we've really got to see J.J. McCarthy play. I think he played 1 series, led the team to a field goal. He went, I believe it was 4 for 7, 30 yards, no touchdowns, no interceptions. If you need a picture perfect scenario of why I don't get hyped about the Vikings, is because immediately after this game, the Vikings go on Twitter or X and tweet, "We've got our guy." After he went 4 for 7 for, 30 yards. I'm going to be honest with you, that's not helping. I think that's kind of hurting his progress. You're going to hype a guy up after he went 4 for 7 for 30 yards and led your team to a field goal. This is why I don't buy into the hype, because that is absolutely insane in my opinion. Like, I want nothing but good things for the kid, obviously, but I think it was kind of a wild thing to go on X or Twitter and say something like that after a guy went 4 for 7 for 30 yards.
I think he looked great. Probably NFC Championship contender worthy. The Patriots beat the Commanders 48-18. Jaden Daniels struggled in this game. That's really the only notable we have marked down here. The Giants beat the Bills 34-25. Jackson Dart looked decent. I seen some clips from this game. There was a lot of short passes. He was 12 for 19, 154 yards, and 1 touchdown. The Steelers beat the Jags 31-25. Jacksonville's kicker, Cam Little, he kicked a 70-yard field goal, which would be a record had it been in the regular season. But obviously that's the preseason. And Justin Tucker has the regular season record at 66 yards. I read an article that said that it may change the way that they coach in the fourth quarter, towards the end of games or towards halftime. It kind of widens up the area where they'll allow him to kick, I think. He apparently was nailing 72-yarders in practice, but he did hit the 70-yarder in the game with a little bit of room to spare, actually.
Is he a rookie?
I thought that was interesting. I believe he played last year. I'd have to look him up. Hold on.
I don't remember if he was a rookie or something was telling me that he was a rookie this year, and people were saying like, yeah, man, this dude was doing this in college. So they were kind of surprised that nobody really noticed before. But
he was drafted in the 2024 NFL draft in the 6th round.
Okay, so
he played in all 17 games last year. He had all extra points and 27 of 29 field goals. So this is second-year kicker.
Wow, how bad?
Good for that guy.
How bad is coaching when you don't know that your kicker has the leg strength to nail a 70-yard field goal, and you're just now like, yeah, we could probably open up the field in the fourth quarter.
To be fair, it's a different staff, so that could be.
Yeah, but don't act like we didn't do homework.
Right, but I'm just saying.
I'm not saying that the guy has to go out every week and hit 70-yard field goals, but if you are a new guy coming in, right, like it's just most people, the kicker's probably not somebody that you think of right off the bat, but when you're talking about the NFL and every point really matters with how good some of these teams are, like not knowing that your guy, like last year, you're telling me that the old group didn't look at that and like, man, we could probably open up the field a little bit more.
I think it's a strategy thing. Like from the article I read, basically what they're saying is that, if you're on your side of the field still and it's the fourth quarter and you're running out of time, say you're at the 48-yard line, like most teams are just going to either kneel it or try and chuck one up to the end zone, right? But when you have a kicker that can do this, maybe it changes to where now they're like, oh, we'll run him out there and say, let's try it to get 3 points. I think what Derek's saying has a little merit, though. Like, some coaches are just like, nah, we're not doing that. I remember when I pitched in baseball, I threw sidearm, and I had a couple pitches that had some movement on them, sidearm. But when you get to a certain level, they're like, no, we're not doing that. You throw overhand. Well, that same thing could have happened here with Cam Little last year. I think it'll be interesting to see how they use him. Maybe he does hit some 65-yarders, something like that. But you still got to be in the position to break the record in the regular season to actually get it. So,
yeah. So let's just quickly run through these last couple games. We don't really have any notable things that we want to talk about. And if I do, I guess you guys can stop me. But Tampa Bay Buccaneers beat the Tennessee Titans 29-7. The New York Jets beat the Green Bay Packers 30-10. The Arizona Cardinals beat the Kansas City Chiefs 20-17. The Denver Broncos defeated the 49ers 30-9. And the Dolphins and the Bears tied 24 apiece. So, that's just kind of a little bit of recap with some extra stuff sprinkled in there a little bit. Conversation pieces that we wanted to go over.
Did Williams play in the Bears game?
He did not. He did not play. So we will move on to position previews. We got the big fellas this week, O-line, D-line. A lot of teams, seems like this year, have tried to bolster these two position groups, which I love. As an old school football guy, I love a lot more emphasis being put on offense and defensive line. So we want to run through a few teams here. I don't know how in-depth we'll get with this, but there are a few that we want to talk about. So first one we want to talk about, defending Super Bowl champs, the Philadelphia Eagles. They got Jordan Mailata, Landon Dickerson, Cam Jurgens, Tyler Steen, and Lane Johnson. Obviously, Dickerson we had mentioned before. He was the one that had the meniscus tear. He's the right guard. So obviously they're going to be without him for some time. They're probably not going to rush him back because that offensive line is pretty stout. They're probably going to give him enough time to recover. I still think this is probably one of the better offensive lines in the league. Lane Johnson is a Hall of Fame tackle. He's going to be a first ballot guy. So he's going to be kind of the anchor point of this offensive line, and I don't really think they got worse at all in the offseason.
Yeah, I saw a couple rankings. Philadelphia was near the top. A lot of rankings I saw had this Denver offensive line as the best. They go from left to right: Garrett Bowles, Ben Powers, Luke Wattenberg, Quinn Miners, and Mike McGlinchey. I believe McGlinchey was a San Francisco 49er, if I remember correctly. So they added him. Bowles has been very good for them, and Miners as well. So it'll be interesting to see. I think Denver, again, will surprise some people this year. So hopefully they don't beat my Chargers out for the division, but I'd like to see them beat the crap out of the Chiefs twice this year.
So our next team, obviously I'm super excited about this team. This is the one position group that I'm going to get kind of hyped for. The Minnesota Vikings. So we're getting Christian Darrisaw back. Last year he had a knee injury, so he will be back. Donovan Jackson's a rookie out of Ohio State. We've got the center Ryan Kelly that we picked up. Will Freeze we picked up as well. And then also Brian O'Neill, longtime Viking. In my opinion, top 5 offensive line. Obviously, the glaring weak spot is Donovan Jackson just because he's a rookie. From what I've seen, he didn't look great, but he didn't look terrible in the first preseason game. Obviously, offensive linemen, with what they've tried to do with this offensive line, they're really trying to protect J.J. McCarthy as much as possible. And the 2 signings, Ryan Kelly and Will Freeze, who I believe were both Colts at last year. I love it. Loved it when they signed him. I think it really bolsters this offensive line. That's kind of been an issue. We haven't been able to find anybody between the tackles. And I love these 3 guys that we got now. And I'm really excited to see what we can do to try to protect our first-year starting quarterback, J.J. McCarthy.
Ryan Kelly has been very good for the Colts. I didn't even realize the Vikings had got him. Was Jackson a tackle at Ohio State?
I don't know. He was highly touted though. He's a big dude. So, I didn't necessarily hate the pick. I liked it. I think it is going after. Like I said, we're really trying to bolster that offensive line. So I'm excited to see how he develops and see how he can kind of help this offensive line that's been completely revamped. To be honest, 3 of the 5 guys have come from other teams or are rookies. So hopefully they can build that chemistry and really solidify themselves as a top 5 offensive line like I know that they can be.
All right, that'll take us to the Chargers. Rashawn Slater, Bradley Bozeman, Zion Johnson, Mekhi Becton, and Joe Alt. Obviously, Slater will not be playing for the Chargers this year. They will probably move Joe Alt over to left tackle, if I had to guess. Bozeman at center, Zion Johnson at left guard, and Becton at right guard. I think they're going to start Pipkins at right tackle, who's a veteran that's kind of bounced around. He's a serviceable backup, but that's definitely a big hit when Slater goes down. Becton, we picked him up on free agency. I think he's going to be really good. He's a big boy as well, and I've been really pleased with Alt. This will be his second year. So I think we'll have a really good offensive line, and the Chargers are going to run a lot of big packages with multiple tight ends just because of the style of offense they run. So I think these big boys will move some defenders all over the field.
Dude, Joe Alt is a freaking huge human being. I was kind of upset you guys got him.
Look up how big Mekhi Becton is.
Yeah, I know he's a big boy,
he's a big boy too.
They're definitely building that offensive line.
Our line got way better.
Yeah,
our line got way better.
You can definitely tell that that's what they're targeting in that Harbaugh system. So, next team we'll go to Detroit Lions. You got Taylor Deckert, Christian Mahogany, Tate Ratledge, Graham Glasnow, and Penei Sewell. Obviously, the big news out of Detroit was the retirement of their longtime center, Frank Ragnow. So it'll be interesting to see what they do to fill his void. Obviously, I don't remember how many years he spent there. I think 7. He was there for 7 years. So obviously a big hole there in the middle of the offensive line that they're going to try to find someone to replace. And, it'll be kind of interesting to see how that affects that offensive line chemistry. Obviously, a lot of people have high expectations for the Lions coming into the season. And in my opinion, they got a few obstacles to overcome with this one being one of them. So,
yeah, and just to bounce back to Becton, 6'7", 364. So, big boy. Yeah, he was.
That's what I thought.
And it's weird because it doesn't say he played for the Eagles, but he's got an Eagles picture as his headshot. So, Detroit's had a really good offensive line for a long time. I think Sewell is the guy that really holds them down. He's probably, if he continues this path, going to be a Hall of Famer. Glasgow's really good as well. And then Taylor Decker, also a really good tackle. But yeah, it does hurt losing their center. He was kind of the anchor. That'll take us to New England, where their first-round pick, Will Campbell, will get a lot of playing time on that offensive line at left tackle. They also have Cole Strange, Garrett Bradbury, Michael Onwenu, and Morgan Moses. Really, we just put this line on here because of Campbell. I seen some clips from the game. It looked like he was playing pretty well. And that will take us to Dallas.
Yeah. So typically, I'm going to be with Derek on this one. Typically, Dallas usually has a lot of focus on their front guys there on the offensive side. They usually do a pretty good job of drafting some guys for the most part. This year looks like it's going to be a little bit different than what it has been. Obviously, with the retirement of Zach Martin, I know we've said it a million times for other positions and whatnot, but kind of the staple for the offensive line. That really sucks because he was a really good center for us. But they have Tyler Guyton. He was the team's first-round pick last season. Struggled a little bit last year, so they're hoping that he kind of picks it up and shows some improvement. You got Tyler Smith, who's a returning starter. He's going to be an anchor on that line. You have Cooper Bebe? I'm not really sure how you pronounce that. If I could get some help, does anybody know?
I would say BB.
Okay. You're on your own on this one.
Okay. But he's a rookie, first-round pick. He's going to be replacing Zach Martin. It sounds like the things for him are looking really well. They do a really good job of drafting centers, so hopefully he can fill the shoes. Then you have Terrence Steele, who is also a veteran. He's expected to kind of anchor him and Tyler Smith from what I'm seeing. They're going to be kind of the guys that anchor that line down. And then you have Tyler Booker, who's also a first-round pick. It says that he's competing. It looks like he's going to win the job, so hopefully he can hold it down. And they have a pretty good front group of guys there. It sounds like Tyler Guyton is the one that shows like the most concern, obviously, because you don't know about the first-round picks from this year. So hopefully they can do some things and protect Dak. I don't think it's going to much matter when it comes to playoff standings, but it's all in all, it looks like it's going to be hopefully a fairly decent group.
They also brought back Lyle Collins, who was
I did see that
tackle for them.
Yeah. So it looks like to me they're looking at maybe Booker or Guyton probably off the list. If he plays.
Yeah, I mean, they're probably battling it out, so
yeah,
we'll see. That'll take us to our defensive line segment of the big guys groups. Derek, you want to start it off with Pittsburgh?
Yep. So in Pittsburgh, running from left to right, you've got Derek Harmon. Your nose tackle is Keanu Benton. And then your other right end is Cameron Hayward. He's not listed on here, but you also have J.J. Watt coming off the line for most of the time as well. TJ Watt. The news came out this week that Cameron Hayward might be doing a hold-in. He's not happy about his $15 million salary that he just signed an extension for last year. It's still up in the air on whether he's going to play hardball or not. But there seems to be a little bit of a rift developing there because it seems like he's wanting more money, even though he just signed his extension last year. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. Obviously, he's a longtime Steeler and kind of the anchor point of that defensive line. So obviously you hope to have him, but it sounds like things aren't, they're not too sure on what's going to happen there in Pittsburgh.
I'm sure we will get to TJ Watt in our linebacker edition of the position preview. I believe for most teams who run a 3-4, all of those edge type players are listed as linebackers. But that'll take us to Philly. They have Moro Ojomo, great name. Nose tackle Jordan Davis, and then their right end Jalen Carter. Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter, a nice duo there on that defensive line. I don't know much about Ojomo, but Davis and Carter, both big boys. Davis, former Bulldog. Was he a Georgia Bulldog too?
He was a Georgia guy too.
Yeah, I think, if I remember right, at one point, Philadelphia's defense had like 6 or 7 former Bulldogs on it.
Yeah, I think it was. Not last year, like as in the year they won the Super Bowl, but the year before that everybody called them the Philadelphia Bulldogs because they had, I think, 7 defensive starters that were former Bulldogs at one point.
I mean, it seems like it worked. No, I really like both Carter and Davis. They have a really good defensive line, really good front seven. When we get to the linebackers, you'll see that as well. But I like watching Philadelphia play. I like their defense. They got a lot of really good, talented players. So I am excited to see that.
Yeah, so that takes us to Houston. You got left in Will Anderson Jr., you got DT Tim Settle Jr., Sheldon Rankins, and Danielle Hunter. Kind of forgot that Danielle Hunter was on this team, longtime Viking. I think he got hurt last year, but I'm kind of excited to see what him and Will Anderson can do coming off the edges for them. I think that can be a pretty good duo that generates a lot of pressure. Like I said, Hunter was a sack leader there for a while with the Vikings. He kind of fell off his last year, and then we ended up not re-signing him, and he went to Houston. So I think that can be a good duo there, and excited to see what they can do in Houston.
Yeah, that is the defensive line that racked up like 6 sacks on the Chargers in the playoffs and forced a bunch of interceptions. It was kind of rough to watch. Buffalo is our next team. Their left end is Greg Rousseau. They have Daquan Jones as a DT, Ed Oliver as a DT, and former Charger Joey Bosa as their right end, who I believe is battling some kind of injury. Go figure. Joey Bosa has an injury every single year. They also have a backup, AJ Epinenza. He went to Edwardsville High School, which is not too far from us. And then he played, I believe he's played his college ball at Iowa as well, similar to that of Sam Laporta we discussed last week. I think this is going to be a pretty good defensive line, really. Rousseau and Bosa can rush the passer if they're healthy. And Jones and Oliver, both kind of veteran tackles, big boys. I think they'll have a pretty decent defensive line in Buffalo.
Yeah, it's always cool to watch them kids that grew up in the area, to go and see them have such success at this level. And they're both kind of ironic that they're both Iowa boys, or Iowa University boys. I shouldn't say that, but they're not from Iowa, obviously, but both went to school there. So it's kind of fun to watch. That leads us into Detroit. Aiden Hutchinson coming back from injury. You got DJ Reader, Aleem McNeil, and Marcus Davenport. Obviously, the big spotlight is on Aiden Hutchinson. How is he going to come back from that injury? To be honest, it was a pretty gruesome one that he suffered. Obviously, one of the top pass rushers in the league. This defensive line was nasty when it was healthy. But obviously, they were Detroit at every position was plagued by injuries last year. So you hope that they can stay healthy, because I think this can be, I just think Aiden Hutchinson is that good, but I think this could be one of the better defensive lines in the league.
Yeah, and Aleem McNeil's nothing to scoff at either. He played really well last year. So I am looking forward to seeing Hutchinson play. Probably, going to be in the NFC Championship game, potentially in the place of the Rams, but that's for another day. That takes us to Cleveland, where they have All-Pro Myles Garrett, Malik Collins, Mason Graham, and Isaiah McGuire. I don't think it much matters who the other three defensive linemen are. I think if you triple, quadruple teamed Myles Garrett, he's still going to find a way to get to the quarterback. So you always have to fear the Browns' defensive line. And that will take us to the LA Rams.
Yeah, so I know it's probably going to be a
the team
shocker.
Who's not going to play in the NFC Championship game.
I know it's probably going to be a shocker, but I think this is probably one of the better front sevens, and it starts with the defensive line. You got Braden Fisk, Poona Ford, and Kobe Turner. All around, I think this is a great offense or defensive line. I think they're going to give opposing team fits all year, assuming they can stay healthy. And we'll get to the linebackers, in the future. But overall, I think this is an extremely underrated group. Obviously, nobody wants to give them credit. But I think that this is going to be a solid top 5 defensive line, and just front 7 in general.
Poona Ford was on the Chargers. Poona Ford was on the Chargers last year, and he was absolutely terrible.
That's fine.
Sounds like
you got,
NFC Championship
like I said,
team right
you've
there.
got other positions that we'll discuss later that are absolute studs on this team. So,
well, that takes it to the studs of the Dallas Cowboys. We have it listed as Dante Fowler for an end, Mozzie Smith for tackle, Osa. Wow, we just talked about this, and I'm blanking again. I don't know how to say this dude's last name.
come on.
Odigizua. Yep. And then Micah Parsons, if he decides to play or gets a new contract. The weird thing is ESPN actually has Marshawn Nealand as the left end over Dante Fowler. Looking at stats, I would assume Dante Fowler should play. He had a pretty big season last year for the Commanders. I think it looks like a pretty good front line. A lot of big guys, a lot of high tackle seasons last year. I'm hoping Micah Parsons plays. That tremendously helps the defense. Arguably one of the best defensive players in the league. Doesn't look like anything's going to happen between now and then, so we'll see. I'm not saying that it's a great group. I'm not saying it's a bad group, but I think that there's a lot of potential here for a pretty good front line there on the defensive side of the ball for Dallas.
Yeah, I was excited about Mozzie Smith, but I don't believe he played very well last year. But when he came out of the draft, I was kind of excited to watch him play.
He actually... Go ahead.
Was Dante Fowler the end from Florida that Jacksonville took like a long time ago?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I didn't even know he was still in the league, to be honest.
He's a veteran. He's bounced around quite a bit the last few years.
31.
I would guess.
Oh, wow.
Okay, there you go.
31. He had 10.5 sacks last year with Washington.
Good for him. I did not know he was still in the league.
Mozzie Smith's stats last year, played in 17 games, 22 solo tackles, 19 assisted tackles, only 1 sack though. I mean, that's not a bad, terrible stat line for him.
I mean, that's about a tackle a game, an assisted tackle a game. That's not terrible. You want to see him get more than 1 sack though, I would imagine.
Yeah,
some tackle for loss.
The thing is too though is like, you look at some of the numbers like Micah Parsons, obviously. I'm not taking anything away from Micah Parsons, but if guys like Mozzie Smith and Gibbs, whatever the heck his name is. If they're applying the pressure, then it allows Micah to get in there and get sacks. So hopefully, I'm really hoping. Obviously, like everybody is, I want my big guys up the middle to be applying the pressure to let the guys on the outsides kind of get fancy with it and get back there. But I mean, all in all, I mean, he's only 24 too, out of Michigan. So, I mean, 6'3", 337 pounds. You know, it looked like to me he had a pretty good season last year, so hopefully that continues and maybe even more of an upward trend.
All right. That'll bring me to my charges. Over the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, the Chargers have had a giant hole in the middle of their defensive line. And from looking at these names, it's likely to continue. Now, again, like what Derek stated with TJ Watt, Khalil Mack will not be listed here as a defensive lineman. He'll be an edge and outside linebacker because the Chargers run a 3-4. But they have Deshaun Hand, Tier Tart, and Otito Ogbonya. What a great name. Yeah, I'm not looking to see much out of these guys. I would be pleasantly surprised if they weren't a bottom 5, defensive line in the league. They'll get some sacks because of the edge guys like Mack and Thule, but these guys are the only player that is, in my opinion, worth anything is Hand, and he's serviceable at best. But Tart and Ogbonya, I think they're backups on most of these teams.
I just hope that Mr. Tart's nickname is Pop.
That's awesome. I love it. I'm just gonna call him Pop Tart from now on.
That's exact. When I saw the name, that's where my mind went.
Hell yeah.
All right. That brings us to Arizona. They got Walter Nolan III, Dalvin Tomlinson, and Darius Robinson. Not really much to go over with this group. The only reason I think they're on the list here is because Darius Robinson was a first-round pick last year, got hurt in the preseason, didn't play a whole lot. He was highly touted coming out of the draft. He went first overall, 27th pick. First round, 27th pick overall. And he's out of Missouri. So obviously they want to see kind of what he can do. I know there was a report that I read that said that he was kind of happy with how he rebounded last year off his injury, and he's looking forward to kind of trying to get back into it this year. Obviously, they're going to be a little safe with him as he's coming back. But, it's going to be interesting to see what he... Obviously, as your first-round picks, you want to see how they turn out. Sounds like his rookie year got cut short a little bit last year, so hoping he can rebound and have a good year this year.
Mr. Nolan was their first-round pick this year.
Correct. Yes. So, did he play at all in their first game?
I did not see that. And Tomlinson's he's a veteran, but he's a good DT.
I think he was a Viking at one point.
He was. He's not gonna. He was a Viking, a Giant. I don't know. He played for a few teams. He's not gonna be flashy, but he's a reliable nose tackle that stops up the middle of the field.
Yeah, and I also saw on their depth chart as well, they got Calais Campbell listed on.
Yeah,
here.
he's been there. He's been there a while now. Actually, I was going to say a few years, but I think it's been a while now. I don't know if they'll run him like as a. I think he's probably too old and big to be like an outside linebacker, like an edge guy. So maybe he'll get some run here on this defensive line quite often.
Yeah, I thought for some reason he retired, but I think it looks like he went back because was he with the Dolphins last year? I don't remember.
He did play for the Dolphins at one point. I don't know when, but
yeah, he was with the Dolphins last year. Regardless, a lot of upside, a lot of young talent on this line, solidified by sounds like some veterans on the interior. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. Which brings us to Minnesota. So you got Jonathan Allen, Harrison Phillips, and Javon Hargrave. Loved the Javon Hargrave signing and the Jonathan Allen signing, to be honest. I think those are two veterans that are going to be huge additions to our defensive line to really complement some of the other pieces that we'll go over at the linebacker position. And obviously you got Harrison Phillips, who's really been an anchor for our defense for the last 3 or 4 years now. Really excited to see what this group can do. I think we added a ton of talent on the offense and defensive lines, and I just hope that all that talent can mesh well. Flores obviously runs a very complex defensive system that throws a lot of teams off, so I'm hoping that we get some of these other guys in here and just add that many more pieces to an already chaotic defense.
This is one of my sneaky defensive lines, I think, in Indianapolis. They have Kwity Paye, Grover Stewart, DeForest Buckner, and Leatu Latu, rookie out of UCLA. I think this is going to be one of the better defensive lines in football. I really like Buckner. He's been really good for a lot of years if he can stay healthy. Paye is kind of underrated in my opinion. And if Latu has a good year, I think that could be one of the better defensive lines in football.
Yeah, I think you're definitely onto something with this group. The big thing with this group, though, is health. You know, like you've mentioned, a lot of these guys kind of have injury histories. DeForest Buckner, he's got to be getting up there in age now. I know Latu had some issues at UCLA. So I'm with you. I think this can be a sneaky good group if they're healthy. But it sounds like, you know, keeping them healthy might be a challenge.
All right, guys, that wraps up the big man edition of the position previews for the offensive and defensive lines. We would talk to you about some Blues news, but there is no news. So that'll take us into our trivia section. I have the questions for Schneids and Derek tonight, and Schneids has the question for me. Let's start with Schneids' question. There are 14 players since 1999 for the Cardinals that have hit 30 home runs in a season. Can you name them? Some of these guys have done it obviously more than one time, but there are 14 players that have done it. I will tell you how many in the year after you guess the player or how many times they did it.
So there's 14 different ones?
Correct.
Oh, boy.
Since 99.
Okay, so Pujols.
Yep, he did it 11 times.
McGuire.
Yep, he did it. Obviously, he did it more than once, but 99, he had 65.
Matt Holliday.
Surprisingly enough, he's not on here. Maybe I missed him. That seems like a surprise to me. Hold on. You can keep guessing. I'm going to look him up.
Did Molina do it once?
Molina is not on the list.
Okay.
Holliday's highest total of home runs with the Cardinals was 28. He eclipsed 30 twice with the Rockies.
Scott Rowland?
Rowland had 34 in 04.
What a freaking stud, man. I love that guy. Sorry. Dude, my little league
should be a
number
Hall
was
of Famer.
my little league number was 27 after him. So, big fan.
I gotta think here. I gotta think of some dudes here. Paul Goldschmidt?
Goldschmidt did it 3 times.
Nolan Arenado? I don't think he's had a 30 season.
Arenado did it twice with the Cardinals.
Okay.
His first 2 years with the Cardinals were pretty good, really, from a power standpoint.
Okay. Did Johnny Peralta do it?
No.
Okay. How many have I listed here?
There is a player on this list that had a similar situation with the Cardinals to Johnny Peralta. You've named McGuire, Pujols, Rowland, Goldschmidt, and Arenado 5. So you have 9 left.
I'm gonna be the washed up one this week. Wow. You're asking me some names of people I probably don't even know.
Oh, that's not true.
Really?
You know every one of these names.
Oh, great. That's even better. Lance Berkman?
He hit 31 in 2011.
David Freese?
David Freese never hit 30 for the Cardinals. He had the clutch ones. He didn't have the 30 plus.
Did Beltran?
He did. He hit 32 in 2012.
Wow, I'm trying to remember some of these names from back in the day. Alan Craig?
Never did 30. You have 7 left by my
So I'm
count.
trying to think of some of
7.
the big guys that have played for them that...
You're missing some pretty easy ones, I think. I think you're thinking too hard.
Ozuna? No.
No, he never did. Which I was surprised by, really.
He didn't really play that well for us, if I'm being honest. He played okay, but
that's
nothing
true.
Crazy.
And you gave up Sandy Alcantara for him.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's awesome. Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
I'm struggling here.
Okay, we'll go this way. You have 1, 2, 3, 4 outfielders and 3 infielders. And most of them are within the last 10 years.
Seriously?
Last 15 years. Yeah. Think of some guys, bro.
Dude, I'm trying, man. Like, in the last 10 years of my life, I've had some things going on. I probably forgot some stuff.
That's fair. And
Wow.
I know what you already got in the chamber for me. You already gave me a little, I'm going to get you. So I don't know how many more hints I'm going to give you. Our listeners think I'm just the most washed up every week, so.
I'm probably am thinking about it way too hard, if I'm being honest with you. I'm trying to think of some infield guys that they've had playing.
Who were some outfielders that hit home runs for the Cardinals?
That's the thing, homie. There's not a lot. Like, I really thought Matt Holliday would be on that list. Like, that's a big dude. I mean, it got Berkman. I got
did think
Beltran.
Holliday would.
I'm trying to, like Chris Duncan.
Nope.
Okay.
So there was one outfielder after those guys, and there were 3 before those guys that you named.
After those dudes?
After those guys, Beltran, Berkman, there was 1 outfielder. Before those 2, there was 3 outfielders on this list.
I have names that come to mind, but they're not power guys. You know, you're thinking of like the dudes like Ryan Ludwig and So Taguchi, Juan Encarnacion.
Ludwig hit 37. Ludwig hit 37 in 08.
Really? Okay. Wow. I wouldn't have thought he was. The fact that he's on the list and Matt Holliday is not is insane.
Ludwig could hit some homers, though. He only did it once for the Cardinals, but I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't do it. I think he played for the Reds and maybe the Padres or something. He probably did it again.
I'm blanking. You know, like I'm thinking of the old school guys. You know, Juan Encarnacion. Or no,
Nope.
Was it? No, it was Juan. Edwin was the one that played first baseman for the Blue Jays.
Yep.
The one after them, though, I am really blanking on that. That is going to drive me nuts. Yeah, I'm struggling. Okay, so like infielders now. Let's think here. Oh man, did Matt Adams do it?
No. I was surprised by that one as well. But he didn't really ever get full playing time.
Yeah, he didn't really get a whole lot of chances, to be honest. They don't really ever have.
Who would you say? Okay, I'm going to start with some hints. Who is the best one of the better center fielders the Cardinals have ever had?
Oh, Jim Edmonds.
Did it 4 times.
How did you miss that one?
But dude, like you're trying to think of 14 names since 1999, and I didn't start watching the Cardinals like I do now until 2006.
You still like the very earliest one was McGuire.
Well, yeah,
So, like,
I mean
you know every one of these.
That might be
You
true, but
watched
like
them play.
McGuire, pumped up on steroids, saved baseball. That every baseball fan in America would get that one, right? And I would say the same for Jim Edmonds, but I'm trying to think of dudes. Like, don't come at me, bro. You missed Adam Thielen. Get off me.
That is fair. That is fair.
You had to pick four wide receivers. I got to pick 14 dudes.
Isn't Jim Edmonds in the Hall of Fame?
No,
he's not. He's in the Cardinals Hall of Fame. He's not in the Major League Baseball Hall of Fame.
Just throwing that out there. Kind of a big name, but no big
you
deal.
had to pick 4 names. I have to pick 14.
Okay. Back on topic. You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 left. The outfielder no longer plays for the Cardinals.
Oh, great. So there's, only 29 other options that he could play for.
Well, I think that narrows it down to about 3 or 4 names. They had to have hit 30 home runs with the Cardinals.
And he's still playing?
Yes.
Well, no.
He did it in 2021.
Wow, I'm blanking on his name. Is it the guy that he plays for Baltimore?
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't think of his name right now.
Jesus Christ,
It's
Tyler
Dylan,
O'Neill. Tyler O'Neill.
Yeah, okay.
You were going to say Carlson, weren't you?
I was going to say Carlson. It sucks that they both play for Baltimore now. I blanked on Tyler O'Neill, and I love Tyler O'Neill.
You have one of these is famous for hitting 2 grand slams in the same inning.
Oh, because his son plays for San Diego. Wow, I'm really struggling with names tonight because you would think that one. Oh my God. Tatis.
Yeah, Tatis. He hit 34 in 99.
Yeah, see, like that name, I'm not gonna remember. I'm not gonna know. Like I know he hit the grand
his son
slams.
plays.
But,
It's a notable.
yeah, but don't tell me I should know all of these. Like I'm not gonna know Tatis.
No, I didn't think you were gonna get Tatis.
Yeah,
the rest of these. One of them played shortstop for the Cardinals.
Great.
He did it in 19.
DeYoung? Yep, Paul DeYoung. And he's an easy one to forget because he was trash.
Okay, the other one recently retired. Hit a lot of doubles and homers for the Cardinals for probably about, 5 or 6 years. Played all over the infield.
Just retired, huh?
I believe he is retired.
Utility guy?
Yeah, I know that narrows it down for the Cardinals, right?
Right. I mean, utility guy that hit 30 bombs. I instantly think of Alan Craig because he played first and outfield, but you said that he's not on that list.
No, this guy played like first, second, third.
Jed Jerko?
Jerko is on the list, but that's not who I was giving you a hint for. He hit 30 and 16. I didn't think you would get that one either.
So we're thinking of 19.
Yeah, this guy that I'm talking about played first, second, and third. He played last year for the Cardinals. He was in 59 games. And got DFA'd.
Is this the last one I got?
No. Actually, hold on. Yes, it is the last one.
Played last year, got DFA'd.
He was with the Cardinals, left for a few years, came back, got DFA'd because he was trash. He had a career resurgence in another city.
I have no idea. Blanking.
Matt Carpenter.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
All right. Derek.
Yeah, wow.
I have two for you because I have a hard time finding questions that, like, I just had him name 14 guys. My two questions, you're going to name 5 guys. So, since 1998, 3 Vikings have won Rookie of the Year. Who are they?
Jesus. Adrian Peterson.
Yep. He had 1,341 rushing yards and 13 touchdowns his rookie year.
Did Jefferson do it?
He did not. What year was he a rookie? I'm curious who won the MVP that year.
20?
Keep coming up with names.
Jesus, dude. Percy Harvin.
Percy Harvin won it in 2009. He had 790 yards and 6 touchdowns. Justin Herbert was the Rookie of the Year in 2020.
That makes sense.
So you're missing one. And obviously, this is the one that would go back the farthest.
Yeah, which sucks.
Between these 3 guys. No, it doesn't.
It does. It goes past 2010. Okay. That's rough.
Okay. It's not Adam Thielen, just in case you wondered.
Is it a big name that I should know?
Yes.
Randy Moss?
Yes.
Okay.
I couldn't 1,317 yards, 17 TDs, and 98. All right. Since 1974, 2 Vikings have won MVP. Who are they?
I
didn't go back further than 70. He did in 12.
Okay.
I didn't go back further than 74 because I'm pretty confident you probably know this name. I think there's only been like 3 or 4 that have won MVP, but the other guy I never heard of. This guy I've heard of. He's a Hall of Famer.
Randy Moss?
No.
Chris Carter?
No.
He won
Further
MVP.
Back.
He won an MVP that season?
He won an MVP in 1975. But he's a Hall of Famer.
Jeez. Is he on the defensive line?
No. Most MVPs, you have to remember, are quarterbacks and running backs.
I understand that, but you had the freaking purple people eaters there for a while, so you never know. Man, I don't know.
Okay, this guy was a quarterback. Does that help?
Culpepper?
No. Culpepper was much later.
Oh, you said he was in 75. Yeah, that definitely was not the case.
Nothing?
I've got a guess.
I'll try for some hints.
I don't know if... Go ahead, yeah.
Give me your guess.
Did he play for the Oilers?
Hold on, I'll tell you. He did not. He wore number 10 for the Vikings. They called him the Mad Scrambler, if that helps you. He led the Vikings to 3 NFC conference championships, but the Vikings lost each ensuing Super Bowl.
And he's a Hall of Famer.
Yep.
Is Minnesota his most notable
passing
team?
yards? I would say so. 47,000 passing yards, 18 seasons, 342 touchdown passes. He was with Minnesota, went to the Giants, and then came back to Minnesota. He threw 4 touchdowns in his first game with Minnesota.
Yeah, dude,
and ran for a 5th.
Absolutely no idea.
Fran Tarkenton.
Okay. Yep.
You don't know him?
No, I do. But
Okay.
not well enough from 75 to know that was who that was. So
I wondered. I didn't know how far back, like if you knew some Hall of Famers or.
I mean, I know who
I mean,
Frank Tarkenton is. It's so far back that I wouldn't have got him out of that lineup, or hints that you gave me, obviously. So
Yeah. Fair enough. All right, Schneid's.
All right. I have a question here for Nate. I know that he's been struggling. Granted, I just struggled there pretty hard. So this may be a layup. Maybe. So the Braves, they have 3 World Series MVPs. Who are they?
Jorge Soler. Is 95 Glavine?
Yes.
And I'm going to probably swing and miss on this one. Is it like 1973 or some shit like that?
Earlier than that.
I want to say Eddie Matthews.
No.
Let's see here. Earlier than 73. I don't think Hank Aaron ever got one. Is it Hank Aaron?
No.
Do you have any hints? I don't know. There's not even names coming to mind.
So he's a starting pitcher, and he's the first starting pitcher since Christy Mathewson.
Oh, Warren Spahn?
Nope. This guy pitched with Warren Spahn.
Oh, Nuxie, Phil Necro.
Nope.
Man.
He actually had to start Game 7 of the World Series because Warren Spahn was stricken by the flu.
I really don't know, brother. Just tell me.
Lou Burdett.
Oh, yeah, I would have never got that. I'm not sure I've ever even heard that name. Oh, yeah. Isn't it crazy that the World Series the Braves get in 21 is a trade deadline acquisition? And then the guy who got the NLCS MVP, also a trade deadline acquisition? Their outfield was literally Rosario, Peterson, and Soler. And none of them were on the team until the trade deadline.
it just means they're good at making deals. I mean, I don't know what to say.
Well, some of the fans on Braves pages would like to disagree with you. All right, fellas. Anybody got anything else before I wrap this up?
Nope.
Nothing? No takers?
Nope. Just appreciate all the listeners so far. If you enjoy the show, like, comment, share with your friends. We appreciate everybody checking us out. It means a lot. And
yeah, I mean, I'm going to be honest. 150 plays in a month. I'm pleased. I'm glad that we're putting out content that you guys want to hear, want to listen to, want to comment about, want to share with your friends. I think that's awesome. I will say there is a very highly competitive 2v2 golf scramble going on Sunday between myself, Schneids, Derek, and one other friend of ours. So we will update you on that come next show. All right. Well, this was episode 5 of the Wash Up Podcast. We want to thank you guys for tuning in, and I would like to thank my co-host Schneids and Derek for another awesome episode. If you like this episode or any of our content, be sure to let us know in the form of a like, comment, follow, or podcast rating. Be on the lookout next week for episode 6. Thank you.